I got ops in Quahog and shooters in Stool Bend. You fuck with Chris Lois, Brian, your life will come to a quick end. That's just calling motherfucking bars, you know what I mean? That's little Stewie on the mic letting the ops know what's up, letting them know not to touch his boys, mama, Lois. The funniest show ever, dude. I just decided to do this episode on a whim. This is, by the way, it is Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? No, it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, and I'm coming at you live talking about Family Guy. I don't know. I got the guy on the mind, dude. I got Peter Griffin. I got the whole Griffin family. I'm talking Meg as well. Even Meg's been on my mind recently. I just can't get Meg off the mind, and you know the Family Guy addiction is serious when you can't get Meg off the mind, and it's not even an addiction. I'm not even watching like Family Guy clips. I don't know what it is. I've been watching a lot of Charles Barkley and Shaq clips recently, which I guess Bill Burr loves those clips because every Shaq and like every like video of Shaq and Charles Barkley like arguing or like saying like an inappropriate joke on TNT, like Bill Burr is always in like the comments or whatever being like, these guys are fucking classic. You gotta love these guys. These guys are great. And that did earn my respect back, you know, because the whole Trump thing, I was just kind of like, what? Why are you being so gay about that, Bill Burr? And I know Bill Burr, the only thing he cares about in life is my opinion, but he was just, there's like, if you don't know, I think it was his wife. I think Bill Burr was like with his wife at a UFC thing, and Trump came in, and his wife like flipped Trump off behind his back, right? And it's like, all right, whatever. Hate Trump, don't like Trump, makes no difference to me. But then the funniest part about it was, so that whole thing happened and everyone freaked out about it, and I was like, who fucking gives a shit? Yeah, dude, she's like a middle-aged like Facebook mom. She thinks she just did like the craziest, edgiest thing on earth. Meanwhile, like 3 months before that, someone tried to shoot him in the fucking head. Like, I don't think anyone's like, you know, that's not the most extreme thing anyone's ever done when it comes to Trump. So it's like, who cares? What's like the big deal there? And then like later on, he went on, I think, the Rich Eisen show, which is like it's like a football talk show. So I don't know how this subject came up, but Bill Burr was like, one thing about my wife is she's going to let you know what she thinks of you. And it's like, well, she kind of did the opposite because she did it like directly behind his back. Like literally, he was facing the exact opposite direction. If he was a fucking owl, he would not have been able to turn his head and see what she did. It's like, no, she didn't at all. She like mumbled under his breath while he walked away, which it's more brave than anything I've ever done. The bravest thing I've ever done when it comes to like a politician is one time Jerry Moran, who's like a senator from Kansas, and I'm from Kansas, and he like visited our high school for some reason. And like the bravest thing I ever did, dude, my heart was beating out of my chest when this happened. I swear to God, it was like thumping out of my fucking chest when I was like thinking about doing this. And he was like walking around the hallways. He didn't even walk in our classroom, but he was walking around the hallways. And our teacher like opened the door to go and talk to him. And I was like, how was Epstein's Island? But and I just like, I only said it loud enough for the people in class to hear, dude. I felt like Billy Badass after that shit. I was like, yeah, dude, I'd fucking fight the system. I'm basically Katniss Everdeen. I basically, you know what I mean? I basically just started a revolution with that one. I think I could write the Constitution. Alexander Hamilton was a bit of a bitch about that shit. I think he didn't even write the Constitution. I don't even know. He wrote the Articles of Confederation, which was, I think it was like the Constitution before the Constitution or something like that. It wasn't. It doesn't have anything to do with like the Confederate Army, which, by the way, Confederate kind of just means you're against like a giant, you know, federal government. You know what I mean? So we're all kind of Confederates, you know what I mean? A lot of people are very Confederate. Even the fucking libs are becoming Confederates nowadays. You know, the libs are starting to hate the federal government. Every 4 years when Trump somehow magically comes back into office, they start hating the federal government again. They're like, the federal government shouldn't be allowed to make decisions about abortion. and then it's like, well, that's how abortion was legal for all those years. So that's exactly... It's exactly what you wanted, but now that Trump comes in, somehow getting 6 justices on the Supreme Court. When I read that article the other day, I didn't double check this fact. I don't double check any of the facts, even the ones I completely make up. Me double checking a fact is me thinking about it twice. Like that. That's what it is. It's not me like looking for a reliable source, being like, is this true? Is this not true? But I think like 6 of the Supreme Court justices are conservatives, which is just the ultimate slam dunk. He did it. And another thing about Trump is that he's just so much more likable than the Dems, dude. Because I was looking at the video. I was watching the video of when Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, which, by the way, if you haven't seen this video, I think it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's one of those. I think it's her. It's like some liberal Supreme Court justice, although I'm pretty sure it's her. But anyway, Trump's like walking out. He's on like the tarmac. It's like the middle of the night, and like there's this perfect like backlighting, like an A24 movie on Trump. And Tiny Dancer by Elton John is playing in the background, just Blue Dream Baby, like that fucking song. And Trump comes up to these reporters, and they're like, "Did you hear she died?" And he's like, "No, I'm just now hearing this for the first time. No matter what you think of her, though, she led a great life." And it's just like, one dude, because they can't do that. The libs just cannot do that. And I think it's because a lot of like the libs base is like fairly like young and as a whole just like kind of crazy, and not the same kind of crazy that like the Trump people are. Like the Trump people are like the kind of, they're like almost like a self-righteous type of crazy, if that makes sense. Like the libs are like, they'll straight up tell you they don't have any like they think morality is completely subjective and doesn't really exist. Whereas like the crazy conservatives are like, no, certain moral things exist. You have to respect the dead. The libs just don't have that. Whether it's true or not, whether it's right or not, the libs just don't have that. And that's why Trump won, right? And that's why he'll probably win a third. Like Tim Dillon said it best when he was given, I think it was like the State of the Union or some fucking bullshit. All he does is give speeches, dude. All the president does, like the entire, for the first 2 years of their presidency, they try to pretend to do some bullshit, and then for the last 2, they just like give speeches in like Vermont or whatever. That's all they fucking do. But I think it was the State of the Union address where he like gave that kid with cancer, he like put him into the Secret Service or whatever, and like none of the libs, like they all just like sat there and scowled, just like, oh my god, can you believe that? They were probably, one of them probably got up right afterwards and he was like, this young man is not qualified to be in the Secret Service. Okay, Trump is violating the Constitution by putting this young man in the Secret Service. Can you believe this? He has gone through no police training, no military training. He knows nothing about protecting the president or doing the other duties of the Secret Service, and yet Trump has made him one. And it's like, it's a fucking kid with cancer, and they all just like sat there like fucking Batman or some shit, just like eyes dark as hell, just like just like fucking brooding, looking at this fucking young kid who's like clearly deathly ill. Like, just staring at a deathly ill kid with just the rage of 1,000 fucking suns in their eyes. Which, I mean, and also to be fair, the Republic, they'll do the exact same thing. They'll look at like a kid in a cage and they'll be like, Obama did it first. I don't know what you, it's like, no, you shouldn't be putting kids in fucking cages, whether Obama did it first or Trump did it first. The Republicans will do the exact same thing, is what I'm saying. But they won't, but Trump won't. That's what I'm saying, is that Trump, maybe the entire like Republican Party, everyone that supports the Republican Party will be like, yeah, they fucking deserved it. Whereas Trump, he'll just come up with some absolute bullshit to get his way out of that situation, you know? And the libs, they just can't do that. I don't think anyone else besides Trump can't do that. I don't think it's like a left versus a right thing, even at this point. I think it's like a Trump versus everyone. That guy, he fucking learned from the WWE. That guy studied the fucking WWE and he was like, I'll be the fucking heel, dude. And I'll tell you what, a lot of people end up loving the heel because the heel, he's just always there. He's always consistent. He's always going to do the same fucking thing. And I feel like that's what Trump is, you know what I mean? He's a student. He's truly a student of Vince McMahon. You know what I mean? And so that's why he won this election, and that's why he'll win the next one somehow. He'll do it. He'll fucking run as like a vice president. He'll somehow become like a Democratic vice president, and like the president will get killed, and then he'll have a third term, and it's gonna be the greatest time ever. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are really critical of Trump, especially with the whole tariff thing. And the funniest fucking thing about the whole tariff thing, especially because it's like the libs, but like everyone on the whole is kind of like, what? Why are you putting taxes on China? Fucking, we're not gonna be able to get our shit. But it's especially the libs, and the libs are, like I kind of said, this contradicts exactly what I just said, but they do. Their whole thing is like standing up for oppressed people, right? And then they're getting mad at Trump because they're not going to be able to get like their cheap shit from China. They're not going to be able to have Chinese child slaves make their shoes or whatever the fuck they want to have. And so that's also a very funny thing about the whole tariff. They just hate him so much that there's like everything he does. That's like that Key and Peele skit where Obama was like, I think all guns should be legal, and then all the Republicans like voted against that and like repealed the Second Amendment or whatever. That's all it is. They were 100% right about that. I don't know if Key and Peele are right about everything. Like Jordan Peele, a lot of people really like his movies. I watched Get Out. It was all right. It wasn't like the best fucking movie I've ever seen him. It was okay. I think it was like a decent idea coming up a little bit. It was riding that wave of like that early wokeness shit, but it was still a decent one. And then I watched fucking what was the other one? Nope. I think it was called, the one where like this has something to do with like aliens and like cowboys. He basically rewrote like aliens versus cowboys to be like a woke movie about the fucking Jim Crow laws or whatever the fuck. But I watched that one, and that one was it just wasn't good at all. It was some left pocket dog shit, dude. I saw the clip of like the chimpanzee ripping the family to death on TikTok, and I was like, this is gonna be a fucking great movie. And it's like 90% of it is about like horses. Or something like that. It's like about how like the first film ever made was like a dude riding a horse, and they're like, it was actually a black dude who rode that horse in the first film ever made. And it's like, okay, who was behind the camera? I guarantee you it was probably a Jewish guy. Honestly, they've been somehow controlling that shit since the beginning. Since the first black man hopped on a horse and got recorded. The Jays have been on that one. So I don't know. I didn't really enjoy that. I'm trying to think of another movie. I watched the movie Fist Fight last night with, who is it? Charlie Day and Ice Cube. I like to say Ice Cube like that. The Ice Cube, but that one wasn't fantastic either. It was a nice, very stupid movie to watch, but it does have Christina Hendricks in it. And the thing is, they did it perfectly. All right, if you don't know who Christina Hendricks is, she's one of the ginger chicks with like big old tits. There's like a few of them in Hollywood, and she's one of them. And they did it perfectly, right? Because a lot of people take a step too far with it. You know what I mean? Like they get the cleavage out and stuff like that. Not in this movie. They had her in a nice like form-fitting dress, but no cleavage. And so I think. I think that was the best step, the best move they made in that movie. You know what I mean? Because you can't go outright with it. You know what I mean? Especially in a movie like that. If you bust out the cleavage right away, it's like, all right. It's like there's nothing else in the movie that's ever gonna be better or more exciting than that. You gotta tone it down just a little bit, like a nice little mystery, just a nice little what's going on under there. I see there's a shape there, but what is it, dude? What's the shape? It's like the movie Nope, dude. It's like the aliens and the clouds in that movie. Yeah, if I'm going to explain the plot of that movie a little bit. There's like an alien in a cloud or whatever, and you're like, is that a cloud or is it like an alien ship? That's what that's what Christina Hendricks' tits are like in the movie Fist Fight. It's like, what's going on in there, dude? What's the mystery behind that? Are they real tits? Are they fake? They're bouncing a little bit, but they're not bouncing enough to convince me that they're real. What's going on behind the scenes there? And so that was the best part of that movie. The rest of the movie, it's one of those movies where I cannot tell you the plot, right? Like I've seen the movies, all of the Lord of the Rings movies. Like my family's fucking obsessed with those movies. I don't know what it is, but they fucking love those movies. It's my mom especially. My mom's probably seen those movies 1,000 fucking times. Like her birthday, what was it? It was like her 52nd birthday or some shit. We did like a Hobbit dinner for her or something like that, which is funny because everyone in my family is basically a Hobbit. We're not dwarves, you know. We're kind of dwarvish in some ways. Like I'd say me and my dad are kind of dwarvish. Like we're kind of short and wide, but everyone else is just like a regular short, like Hobbit. You know what I mean? So that on top of that added a lot to the Hobbit dinner. Just no one above 6 foot at that. No one above 5'8" at that dinner, dude. Just a family of hobbits munching down on mashed potatoes and cake. It was a fucking adventure. But I've seen those movies with my family, especially. I've seen all of them at least 4 or 5 times, right? And I think there's 3 of those movies, or there's maybe 4 of them, but I've seen them all at least 4 or 5 times, and I cannot tell you the plot. I know the general plot is they get the ring to the mountain so that they can throw it in the lava and like erase it from history or whatever. But any other plot point in that movie, like my family will be like, do you remember when the orcs attacked the Holmodors or whatever? And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking? I have no idea. The only other part of that movie that I remember is like there's like this, it's like a classic situation of like an aged king and like a conniving squire or whatever, like a conniving advisor maybe is the best way to put it, like a guy that like whispers in his ear and tells him what to do. That's the only other part of the movie I remember. I don't I don't remember any other part of the movie. They're like, do you remember when the hobbits went down the river to Rivendell or whatever? And I'm like, you just changed the word river and made up a whole situation. I don't remember a single plot point of that movie. I remember Gollum eats a raw fish, and that's it. That's all I remember. I remember the evil horse kingdom guy. And that Gollum eats a raw trout. Wriggling. The raw trout is wriggling. I remember that. I remember that really specifically because I was probably watching those movies when I was like 5 years old. Like, it's been, how old am I now? 20. So it's been like 16 years of like watching those movies. The only thing I remember, evil horse kingdom and a little fucking like skinny little, basically a fentanyl addict eating a trout. That's all I remember from that whole, I don't know if it's I think there might be 4. I really can't remember. I know there's 4 Hunger Games movies, and this is maybe one of the more embarrassing things I've admitted to recently, but I love the Hunger Games. Like, whenever Hunger Games is on Hulu or whatever, I'm like, fire that shit the fuck up. I'm watching the Hunger Games. And I like to watch YouTube videos when I take a nap. I like to watch YouTube videos and like slowly turn down the volume and fall asleep. And the one I was just watching was this guy talking about like all the districts of the Hunger Games. I fucking love the Hunger Games ever since I was a kid, dude. One time in 6th grade, though. In 6th grade, I think it was. Maybe it was 6th or 5th grade. I can't remember. But I was reading the Hunger Games books, and like there was this other kid in my class that was reading the Hunger Games books, and the teachers at this school like really hated me. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, the teachers were out to get me, and it's like, shut the fuck. No one was out to get you, dude. The teachers at this school, it was a Catholic school, and I wasn't even fucking Catholic. I don't know why the fuck I was there, but they really fucking hated me. And so this other kid was reading the Hunger Games books, my boy Jose, and I was like, fuck it, dude. Sounds like a plan. I'll read the Hunger Games books too. But as soon as I started reading them, they were like, nope, you can't read the Hunger Games books. And I remember for some reason we were in the library, and I think I was like trying to check out a Hunger Games book, and they were like, nope, you can't do it. You're not allowed to do the Hunger Games. I don't know why. They just fucking hated me. I don't know what it was. They just seriously, they could not stand the fact that I was reading a book. I don't know. They're like, you fucking little spawn of Satan. You're only reading the Bible, dude. I don't want you reading any of this other shit. Don't get any bright ideas, dum-dum. And I had to go back to the classroom for some reason. I was so angry that they wouldn't let me read the Hunger Games that I just started slamming my head into a desk. I was just like, you can't read the fucking Hunger Games, dude. And I think I had read like the first one and then like part of the second one, and then they put the kibosh on it. They're like, nope, no Hunger Games for you, dude. You're already a little fat angry midget. They could see the spirit of the incel inside of me already. They're like, we can't let this guy even get a taste of violence. He's gonna get too hog wild. And so I just freaked the fuck out and like slammed my head on a desk. But I don't know. And the Hunger Games books aren't that good. It's not like a Percy Jackson. Like, Percy Jackson was fucking fire. Hunger Games wasn't as good as Percy Jackson. I'll stand on business with that one. I know I've always been a fan of the Greeks, especially over the Romans, dude. I don't get the hype around the Roman Empire. It's like, what are we doing here? They made pipes and stuff, dude. The Greeks were having wars with like 10 million people on either side. They were making that shit completely up, but still, you know what I mean? What's that famous saying? The victors write history or whatever. I don't know, some bullshit like that. I don't remember how it goes. But the fucking Greeks, when they became the victors, they were like, yeah, dude, we had 300 people on one side and 18 million on the other, and we won the war. It was pretty fucking insane. You guys should have been there. It only took 300 of us to kill everyone else on Earth. It was a fucking wild adventure. Like, I'm listening to the Iliad right now. I'm listening to it. I'm definitely not going to read that shit. I didn't even try to see if the library had the Iliad, because I can't even get through Shakespeare, and that's English. You think I'm going to get through fucking a triply translated version of the Iliad? No fucking way. And so I've been listening to it, and that thing is fucking... I don't get how anyone can be like, yeah, that happened. It's completely... 90% of the book is like the gods basically dictate everything that happens, which I guess does make sense, because that's kind of like the whole point of a god, right? Is that a god like dictates exactly what happens on Earth. But like 90% of it is like the gods are like scheming each other, and then the other half of it is like Pericles, son of Patroclus, of the Aegean people, killed, fucking Oileus, son of Ajax, of the Trojans, and the way he did it, he drove his bronze spear into his back and shattered his teeth. It's like, it's just brutal descriptions of killing on a battlefield, and then the gods, conspiring. It's the greatest book ever written. I understand now why it's like it's persisted through time. There's nothing sicker than that. It's just conspiracies and fucking murder. It's like Inglourious Bastards, right? Like that's all Inglourious Bastards is. It's just people like conspiring on how to kill one guy, and that's kind of what the Iliad is too, right? Like it's all about like Hector's trying to kill Menelaus. Like that's basically the entire book, and then it kind of flips the script a little bit because Hector kills one of Achilles' boys, and then Achilles is like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm gonna kill Hector now." And so the book basically just switches between people trying to kill other people. And the thing about Achilles, right, is that the Iliad is like the modern name for the book, but like the ancient name, the way Homer, the guy who like wrote it, would have described it, is like the Wrath of Achilles. And you hear that name and you're like, okay, this is just about Achilles going like hog wild on the Trojans. Not really, dude, because for the entire like first half of the book, right, so Achilles and his people, right, it's basically the Greeks versus the Trojans. That's how I'll simplify it. The Greeks are fighting the Trojans because the Trojans stole a Greek king's wife. And so that's what happened. And so they're set up, and they're doing this for like 10 years, right? Like they thought it would be like a super quick type of thing. It's kind of like the Odyssey in that way, right? Like the Odyssey, he thought he was going to get back to wherever the fuck he was from in like 10 years or like 2 months or whatever, and it took him 30 years. And so they're basically, the Greeks are fighting the Trojans for like 10 years already. And then like the king, like the main leader of the Greeks, takes one of Achilles' bitches from it, right? Because when you win a battle or a fight, or you like sack a city, you get the bitches, and the bitches are kind of evenly distributed based on like your status within the group, right? So like the king is Agamemnon. Agamemnon gets the baddest bitch. But Agamemnon, the king, he stole one of Achilles' bitches, and Achilles was like, nah, fuck that. And he told his mom, who was a goddess, right? His mom is the goddess Thetis. And he's like, yo, fucking destroy the Greeks. I've had enough of this shit. You just stole my bitch from me. So that's kind of how it starts out. And so it's basically like the Trojans are fucking up the Greeks with like the power of the gods behind them. Because he told Jupiter, a.k.a. Zeus, like, yo, you got to fuck the Greeks up because I got my bitch stolen from me. And so it's basically the Trojans are fighting the Greeks while like Achilles sits to the side and like pouts. And so like the most badass dude in the entire book for like the first, I'd say like 7 to 8 hours of it, really. Like Achilles only comes out when his boy Patroclus gets killed, but like the badass of it is this boy Diomedes, I think is his name. Dude, this guy, because you guys know Achilles. He's like basically invincible. He's a literal demigod. But this dude Diomedes, he's just an absolute fucking beast. He's not a demigod. He's just like a regular. And the way he described him too, the reason I might really like this character is because Homer describes him as like kind of like a short, wide, jacked dude. So obviously I'm right on board with that shit. I'm like, let's fucking go, dude. A jacked man like going hog wild. And he doesn't have any like superpowers like fucking Achilles has. And he's like running full like head on into the Trojans, like killing everyone. And so that's the real badass of the Iliad. It's not Achilles. It's not the wrath of Achilles, dude. It's the wrath of Diomedes. That guy was such a fucking badass. And it's like, dude, there's this one part where Minerva, who's like Athena, like, right, like the god of wisdom, and she's kind of like a god of war. She's like, she gave like fucking power, not like real power, but she was like, yo, fucking Diomedes, you gotta lock in, dude. Your dad was a beast. You gotta be a beast too. And he just goes hog wild into the fucking Trojans. It's so sick, dude. It's such a fucking sick book. I wish I could go back to the Greek times and everything. When you could just lie about shit. When you could just be like, yeah, it was fucking crazy, dude. And then Zeus came down. 10 million of us were fighting on a battlefield the size of a fucking acre of land. And fucking Zeus came down and just started redirecting rivers and throwing down lightning bolts. God damn it, dude. I wish I could do that. Nowadays, it's like everything has to be like fact-checked by like Snopes or whatever. It's like, also, what the fuck does Snopes know? It's like, oh, Snopes knows everything. I don't get that. I don't get like the whole, you got to fact-check it. You got to fact-check it on Snopes. It's like Snopes doesn't have a fucking... They don't have any biases or anything. I got to fact-check it on Snopes, really? God, that would have killed Homer. And that just proves how gay fact-checking is. The greatest book of all time. Because the reason people really listen to that is because they kind of thought it was real, right? Like, not exactly. It was kind of like a twist. Like, even they knew. They were like, all right, that's not exactly how shit went. But they, like, it was kind of like a dramatized version of a real thing, right? It was like that shit you see on the news, or it's like a dramatized event of something happening. It's like this lady got robbed, and then they show a white guy robbing the lady, and it's like, well, we know that's not true. It's It's kind of one of those situations, but it's still entertaining. I'm still gonna watch the dramatized reenactment. But like if Snopes was there, Snopes would have been like that would have been like what Socrates, the guy who had just did the episode about his gay ass, would have been like, life is meaningless and the gods aren't actually real. So okay, Homer, how about you just stop talking because that's just a blatant lie that you just told, right? I just fact checked it. I just went to Troy and I asked the Trojans and they said that it didn't happen. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. I'm just trying to hear. I don't care if the story's real or not. I'm just trying to get entertainment. Because it's like, the fuck am I gonna do? I'm gonna go and time travel back to ancient Greek times and like check that shit the fuck out? No, I'm not going to do that. Same with anything that's happening in the news. It's like Fox News, CNN is lying to you. It's not true. And it's like, yeah, I don't think anyone's really under the impression that anything that Fox News or CNN or any of these people say is true. It's just fun to watch. It's just like it's basically like the Iliad or the Odyssey, where it's like, yeah, it's not true, but it's just really entertaining. It's just really entertaining to watch. Who cares if it's real or not? You know, even if I do something about it, no one's gonna do anything about it either. That's the other thing about people like being like, oh, CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, they're radicalizing people. And it's like, what? They're radicalizing people to like post things on Facebook. Who cares? The internet isn't real. I'm sick and tired of people pretending it is too. Like, people will really get mad at you, like on Twitter too, especially people on Twitter. Twitter is it's basically just like one step above Reddit, in my opinion. It's just people endlessly arguing and getting mad about fucking everything. But people will like actually get like fucking pissed, even though it's entirely made up. It's all made up. No one on the internet is real. Just like keep that in your mind. Like, if you ever are, like, looking at the internet and getting mad, like what I do is I'm just like, it's not real. Nothing that's happened. These people don't exist. That's everyone on here is an Indian bot. I don't care what anyone says, dude. This is a Russian AI that I'm arguing with, and it's fun. It is fun to argue with Russian AI, whether it's a real person or not. It's still fun. Arguing is still fun. The Iliad has proven that to me. And another funny thing about the Iliad is, like, when they're battling, right? Like, some dude will pull up on another dude, and they'll just start talking shit for like 5 minutes in the middle of a battle, right? Like, Homer will be describing like this epic, like, you know, maneuver that the Trojans are trying to do on the Greeks so that they can get to their ships or whatever. And then in the middle of it, like, Achilles and Hector will just start like screaming at each other, just like, fuck you, dude. You kind of have to translate it in your mind for it to be that way, but like once you learn how to translate it in your mind, it's very fucking sick. It's a very, very fun read. I reckon it's completely free too. You can just like look it up on Spotify. There is one version on Spotify. I think it's like the classic, like the classic like audiobook collection. That one isn't the full one. There's one that's like a playlist where this guy just recorded it. You got to listen to that one. The thing about that one though is that it's not like like on Spotify. If you're listening to a podcast, you can kind of like if you stop it and like go and listen to another thing, you can pick up right where you were. But like if on a song, you can't do the same thing. That is the shitty thing about the playlist version of this one, but still, it's very sick. It's wildly entertaining. Once you learn how to translate it in your mind, it's very sick, right? Like, fucking, he'll go on for like 10 minutes or some shit about like just these people talking shit to each other. And what it boils down to is this guy was like, fuck you, you aren't gonna do shit, dude. I'm way more powerful than you. The gods love me way more. Like, once you learn how to do that in your mind, when you're listening to it, it becomes very sick. And I imagine like Shakespeare and a lot of those things are the same way, but I feel like those ones are even harder to translate because at least the Iliad is like, it's kind of been translated into common speak, whereas like people just refuse to do that with Shakespeare. I don't know. They hold it so dear in their hearts. They're like, no, you can't translate Shakespeare into modern English. No, you can't do that. No, the art is too pure. Like, I saw someone do that. It was like a clip of Norm Macdonald, and it was like they sped it up so that you could like see the full clip in a minute or whatever it was, and someone in the comments was like, you don't dare speed up Norm Macdonald. Why are you doing that to Norm Macdonald? It's anyone that knows anything about Norm Macdonald, anyone that's like listened to anything he's ever said, he would have been like, yeah, I'm dead. Even if I was alive, I still wouldn't care. But it's people spurring about it. And I feel like Shakespeare's the same way. Shakespeare would be like, dude, who cares? I was writing it at the time as well for like common people to be able to listen to it. I don't know why you're like bitching now about someone translating it for common people to be able to listen to it or like see it and watch it and shit. That's what I think about Shakespeare. And I don't know. I just have the mind of Shakespeare. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm able to say that so surely. You know, other people they might like second guess themselves on a thing like that. Not me, dude. I've been endowed with his spirit. You know what I mean? I've been endowed with the Shakespearean spirit to be able to, just spit facts like that, just pure facts. I do wish I had like the Homer spirit, because that guy fucking blabs a lot, dude. It is, when you're listening to it at first, there's like this entire, I think it's like one of the books, right? It's kind of like the Bible, where it's like the book of, Matthew, or the book of fucking Luke or whatever, but it's actually just a chapter. But I mean, there's like this entire chapter in the Iliad that's just him being like, this boat had 50 people on it, and it was commanded by this guy who was the underling of this guy. And it's just like an entire chapter of that. But it is pretty interesting, right? Like, he's breaking down like the lineages of people and like describing the size of the army. So a lot of people complain about that part. I thought that part was pretty sick, but I don't have it in me to do that, dude. I you just gotta boil things down to as simple as they can be. That's all it is. That's all my brain can do, dude. Just boil it down to as simple as it can be. So I don't have like that Homer-esque ability in me, you know what I mean, to like expound on things like that. I just also don't have like the knowledge, the knowledge it takes to do that either. And like none of the things I talk about, I don't have it. And one of the things I'm talking about is quahogs. So quahogs are also known as hard clams, round clams, or chowder clams. And I guess these guys are like the ultimate fucking clams. You know what I mean? Besides the other ultimate claim, everyone besides that claim, the claim that rules the world, dude. A lot of people act like men rule the world or whatever, and it's like, no. Every decision ever made by a man has been predicated on the clam. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think those are the ultimate claim, but quahogs are the number 2 clam, and I guess they use them to make clam chowder, which I've never had it, and I don't think I'd like, dude. I like seafood. I like my seafood as pure as possible. Like the fish fillet, what are you doing mixing cheese with seafood? Tartar sauce is the only accoutrement to seafood, I'd say, in my person. Like, cheese on seafood it's an outlandish thing, right? Like, even shrimp Alfredo, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? I'd rather just have like straight up scrimp. Cocktail sauce is the other one. Cocktail sauce, tartar sauce, lemon. But that doesn't count. Lemon's more like a seasoning. I'm talking about true accoutrements, like condiments, toppings, shit like that, right? Like cheese doesn't go on that shit, dude. Alfredo sauce doesn't go on that. Maybe like a tomato sauce, because that's kind of like cocktail, like a spicy tomato sauce is basically a cocktail sauce. So okay, that one gets a pass for me. But dude, you're mixing Alfredo with, it's disgusting. I'll eat it, right? Like, I'll eat anything. Anyone that has seen me will know that that's a true fact, dude. I'll fucking munch on whatever. But I mean, that one is just, I can't get behind it, dude. You're mixing cheese with seafood. I like my seafood just about as pure as possible, except for like fish sticks. Fish sticks get a pass for me in that department. I'm too American to not like. I'm too like an American middle class white guy to be able to condemn fish sticks. So fish sticks get a pass for me in that. But everything else you're mixing, nah. I'm a purist in that way, right? Like, I'm a Shakespeare fan like that. I'm like, what are you? You're adding all that extra shit on here. You're changing it up. No, you can't be doing that to seafood. And I don't know what it is about seafood, like all seafood, that makes it that way. Like even squid or fucking fish. Well, what's the other type? Scramps. Clams, all that shit, dude. I like it in a more pure form, if that makes sense. Like, I don't like people mixing shit up with seafood. I don't like people, treating it like it's chicken or something. Like, chicken, the reason you need to add all that shit onto chicken is because it's kind of a plain thing, and it's kind of like it's a plain thing, and it's also kind of like more heavy than seafood. And so you can kind of add all that shit on there, and it still tastes good. But seafood is just, it's way more light than like beef or chicken or pig or whatever. It's just, so you can't be adding all that extra shit on seafood. I'll take that controversial stand. Like, I know a lot of people like Alfredo, especially Americans, dude. Americans fucking we love Alfredo. It's the most calorically dense sauce on earth. I don't think you could, if you tried to make a more calorically dense sauce, especially American Alfredo, because I'm pretty sure Alfredo in like, where's it from, Italy or some bullshit like that, one of those made up fucking countries. But I think there, it's just like Parmesan cheese and like maybe a little bit of butter, but not in America, dude. Not in America. We're like, that's not enough fucking calories. We got to get those calories in, dude. We got some hard work We got some fucking Fox News we gotta watch later. We gotta add more calories to this. Did you know how many calories I burnt sitting on the fucking couch screaming at Fox News? Do you know how much energy that takes, dude? I need more cream cheese in this Alfredo, and it's the most caloric. It's butter, cream cheese, which is basically just a different type of butter, right? Like a lot of those cheeses are just different, especially cream cheese. Especially cream cheese is just a different type of butter. Like I feel like people like look at cheese and they think there's like protein or something. There's no protein. It's just fat. Like that's all that cheese is. And we're adding the fattiest type of cheese right in there, dude. Like I got a boy. He might be listening to this, dude. He puts cream cheese on Takis, and you're basically putting butter on Takis. He doesn't do it anymore. He is on the weight loss journey. He is on the grind like that. So he's not mixing up the cream cheese with the Takis anymore. But that's basically just putting butter on Takis. But I do love me some cream cheese. I'm not above cream cheese in any way, shape, or form. I just don't want it with seafood. Smoked salmon though with cream cheese is pretty good, but that's basically not even seafood anymore. Like smoked salmon like that. If you've ever had smoked salmon, then you know it's not really like normal salmon or like any other type of seafood. It's kind of its own thing. It's kind of just like a taste, right? Like there's no meat in. You're not eating fucking smoked salmon because you want like the protein or like the omega-3s from it. You're eating it because it has like a certain taste to it, right? You don't even care about the texture of it. And also, every texture I've ever like experienced in smoked salmon is completely different. Sometimes it's like incredibly like soft, and it's always good. And it's always good because it's always kind of the same flavor, and that's all you really care about when it comes to smoked salmon. But it's always a complete, like sometimes it's like hard, sometimes it's soft, sometimes there's like a weird, almost like crunchiness to it. It's always a different texture every time I try it, and that just proves my point that it's more of a flavor than it is, a piece of meat, right? It's almost like I'm trying to like think of a comparison to it. Maybe like pork skin, what's pork rinds. Like you can put any different type of flavor on pork rinds because it's not even it's that's not a flavor. It's more so a texture than it is a flavor. So you can kind of put anything on it. But seafood's a little more like a nice slab of cod or something. It's more three-dimensional than that. Like it's about the texture, the flavor of it. The mouthfeel, all that good shit. So you can't be adding too much to it, if that makes sense. So I'm a seafood purist in that way. I'm not really a purist when it comes to any other type of food, but I do not like American cheese. American cheese goes on hamburgers, and that's it, dude. I can't take American cheese in any other form. I just can't fucking do it. And it's not because it's like ultra processed or unhealthy. Like I'll eat fucking Sour Patch Kids till the cows come home, dude. I'll fucking, you know what I mean? I'm Hillary Clinton eating kids like that, dude. I'll munch those things all day, all night, no problem. But I mean, American cheese, I don't like the taste of it. The texture, there's no texture, right? Like if you eat a piece of American cheese, it's like biting through air, basically. Like there's no texture to it. The taste is awful. Same with Velveeta. I don't like Velveeta at all, right? Which is, it's very non-Midwestern of me to not like Velveeta. I don't really like a ton of types of cheese. I like cheese, like people will just fucking munch the block of cheddar, dude. I cannot munch the block of cheddar like that, especially a piece of sharp cheddar. Nah, dude, you got to put that on a Ritz, some eggs or something like that. I'll eat it on some eggs. I treat cheese as a topping, right? Like even grilled cheeses. When I make a grilled cheese, I'm seasoning that bitch the fuck up. I'm putting ham on it, everything. I can't just eat melted American cheese between two shitty slices of bread. I can't do it. I have to add seasoning. I really can't even eat a grilled cheese without tomato soup at this point, dude. I know you might think I'm bougie talking about tomato soup and shit like that. I can't eat it without tomato soup. I don't know what it is about American cheese or like just like the nature of it. There's something about it. I really don't like the taste. I really don't like the taste of Velveeta. Like my dad makes this Velveeta cheese sauce. I'm like, dude, how the fuck do you eat that? That shit is, I don't know, dude. He didn't even grow up on like welfare or nothing like that. So I'm like, he just got a love for the cheese, dude. He didn't even grow up. It's not like he was eating that government cheese. He was down in the hood in fucking, I don't know, Harlem or whatever. Just like the only food he had was that American cheese. No, dude. He grew up fine. I don't know why he loves the Velveeta so much. But he did grow up in like the 80s and 90s and shit like that when like everything was artificial. Like people talk about now how everything has like microplastics in it. And like, yeah, that's true. But like it's not nearly as artificial as it was in like the 80s and 90s. Like everything in the 80s and 90s, dude, you'd get like a fucking bologna sandwich and a Twinkie and it would just run hog wild. So like this idea that like everyone's fat now because we're eating artificial food, maybe it's partly true, but people have been doing that shit since like since like the 60s. Like the 60s was like, you eat a cheeseburger and a Coke and you'd be 170 pounds lean with abs. So I don't know what it is. There's something greater going on here. But yeah, they used to eat so much, like everything was like low calorie mayonnaise and like margarine and shit like that. So this isn't like a new thing that we got going on. It's, I guess, relatively new in the grand scheme of things, but anything that's older than a year old isn't new, right? Like, once something becomes a year old, it's like, I'm like, that's fucking ancient, dude. What are you talking about? Like, everything in my life. When people talk about Corona, that's the only thing I'm still like, no, dude, that just happened. That's the only thing that falls into that department. And I don't know why, because I don't remember any of it, dude. I don't remember any of the Corona. It's shocking. I might have gotten somehow sitting in my room all day, jerking off at least 4 times a day. That was probably the average, if I'm going to be honest. But that probably gave me CTE, and I just don't remember any of it. I'm like, people thought a guy ate a bat? Wait, what happened? There was a disease? I don't remember it. I remember it like as a concept, maybe is the best way to put it, but I don't remember any specifics about it. Like the vaccine, or I couldn't tell you shit about that, dude. I don't remember anything from it. I was just completely blank-minded, just like a guy in solitary confinement, just staring at the ceiling, just, except I wasn't solitary confinement, but I was in worse than solitary confinement. I had to live with my family. God, what's worse than family? I hate my family so much. My family sucks. I'm basically Achilles. But Quahogs, dude, I do love me a nice clam. I don't know if I've eaten clam before. In one way, I certainly haven't ever eaten clam before, but as a meat, I don't know if I've had it. I don't know if I've indulged in the clam. I've had mussels before, and apparently, where's that fact at? So clam is more of like a culinary term, right? It's not like a biological term. It's more of like how does it fit into like the culinary world? Because it's kind of like fruits and vegetables in that way. Like a cucumber is technically a berry, right? Like it's technically a fruit, but like in terms of what it is culinarily, I don't know if that's a word, but it's a vegetable because it's not sweet or anything. It doesn't have any like acidity. It's pretty plain and it's not very sweet. And so therefore it is a vegetable. And I don't really even know what the scientific definition of a vegetable is, because anything that is like has seeds is a fruit, basically. Not like pine cones and shit like that, but basically anything you eat that has seeds in it is a fruit. So cucumbers, not carrots, not celery, not onions and shit like that. Cucumber might be the only example I could think of in that department, but like anything with seeds is basically a fruit, unless you're munching on pine cones or something, in which case, let me in, dude. I want to know. I've always wondered how pine cones taste. I've eaten a few of those juniper berries before, which my parents always warned me not to eat because they are, I think, incredibly toxic, like, but not, they're kind of like the fun type of toxic, where it's just like it makes your stomach cramp for 3 days. Like, it's not like the type that's going to kill you. Maybe it is. Maybe if you eat enough of it, but if you just eat like a few of them, and I've never gotten any of the stomach cramps or anything from them, but that is surprising because I do, as much as I hate to admit, I do have a fairly weak stomach in that way. Like spicy food, like going down, like I can eat spicy food, no problem. It's the tongue isn't the problem when it comes to spicy food. It's my asshole and my stomach and my intestines, unfortunately. I don't know what it is, dude. Like I can get it down fine. I'm like fucking whatever, spicy food, but the next day, just punishing me, dude. Just, what are you doing? Just punching me in the asshole, basically fisting me. That's what spicy food does. It basically fists me, and it's just no more of this. But I don't know. I like it. I like the way it tastes. Takis especially. Just completely artificial like that. But back to clams. So clams as a whole aren't like a super closely related group. You're just getting clam facts on this one, dude. That's all you need. Who needs anything more than clam facts? Clam facts are the ultimate. They are an interesting one, because they're basically a plant, right? Like and unfortunately, like there's no animal activists like sticking up for clams, being like, we need clams, even though we do. Like that's one of those ones that we actually got to take care of those guys, but no one cares, right? Like people, especially animal rights activists, they don't understand how nature works, right? Like they're like, we need to outlaw certain types of hunting because they're killing the animals. And it's like, you just don't understand fundamentally how nature works if you think that's true. It's that animal rights is like a worldview, especially as it relates to, environmentalism, is completely incorrect, and it has massive holes in it. Like, And it's just very stupid on the whole. It's a very dumb way to look at ecology and environmentalism, being like, we need to preserve the rights of these animals. They don't have rights to begin. What are you talking about? This is a completely man-made topic that you're trying to insert into a non-man thing at all, like a non-human thing, like a thing that's completely outside of the control of man. You're trying to insert this very stupid this very stupid idea into environment, like just something that's completely outside of man, right? Like there's no rights in nature. Like nothing in nature has like the opposite of rights. Nature is a totalitarian thing that is wholly oppressive of the things that exist underneath it. Like an animal is fighting for its life every second of its life. Like that's what natural selection is. Natural selection only exists because of these insanely heavy pressures that nature puts on things. And so if you're like, oh no, we need to protect these things and make sure they don't die like pandas, dude, let those things go fucking extinct. I'm sick and tired of pandas, dude. I can't handle any more of the pandas. The pandas are going extinct. Yeah, they deserve to go extinct. They're in body plan and intelligence, everything about them is the stupidest thing possible. They're the dumbest animal on earth. They eat bamboo, even though they don't have a stomach or intestinal tract or anything about their digestive system that's like fucking at all shaped to eat bamboo. Like their teeth, like the teeth, your mouth, that's also part of the digestive system in a way. And theirs isn't designed to do that. It's designed to eat meat. Same with their stomach. It's like if there was this group of people that just ate grass all day. Not even like vegans, right? Because at least vegans are eating like beans and like tofu and shit like that, which is like fairly digestible by the human body. But it's like if there was this group of people that just ate grass all day and everyone was like, no, we need to protect these group of people. We need to preserve their way of life. We need to figure out a way to let them just eat grass for the rest of their lives and just be happy like that. It's like, no, let them die. You can't be munching on grass if your body ain't equipped to munch on grass. You know, if you got to munch on grass as a last resort, okay, I get that. And one time I did eat grass when I was a kid, and the reason I ate the grass was because this is the funniest fucking thing I think I've ever did. I don't know how old I was. I was probably like 3 or 4 years old. But I used to go to like this daycare place. Like before I was in kindergarten or whatever, I used to go to this daycare place. And one day the lady was like, all right, we got the grass sprayed with like chemicals and stuff to like, I don't know, kill bugs or some shit, like, or kill weeds or something. She was like, I'm going to let you guys out to play, but you cannot eat the grass. And I immediately like looked around my shoulder, like just like I was doing a drug deal or something. Like, can't let this fucking lady see me eat this grass. And I ate the grass and it tasted awful, dude. And I just assumed that's what all grass tasted like. Because I also used to eat mushrooms on the playground when I was younger. Our playground is from like the 60s, and everything, like the mulch, like the thing that like held the mulch in, like I guess the mulch bed, like that was rotting too, and so there was mushrooms growing everywhere. And I would just eat the mushrooms. I'd be like, dude, fucking those mozzarella sticks weren't enough. I need some mushrooms. I need some morels. And these weren't morels, dude. These were definitely, I don't know how I didn't die. I was just munching on whatever kind of shrooms were going out there. I was like, I need that, dude. What are you talking about? Mozzarella sticks aren't enough to sustain this young man's growing body. I need to eat mushrooms on the playground. So I used to munch on those too. I was never a bug eater kid though. You could not. I remember there's this one kid who was like, I'll eat the bugs, dude. I don't care. I never got that one, dude. It wasn't even a texture issue. It was like the fact that it was going to be still alive while I was like a centipede. I did have a nightmare about a centipede the other night. Someone, I don't know, I guess I was just like chilling in this place and someone released a centipede. And that's a very like African or Asian thing to do. To like release a centipede on your enemies. But I guess this guy, or maybe it was a chick, I don't remember, but someone released a centipede on me. They were trying to kill me with a centipede. And dude, I was trying to go, but this was a feisty centipede. You're hearing me like be like stutter and like be scared of the centipede. This was a feisty centipede. It was like striking at me. It was trying to bite me and shit. I had tons of legs, dude. The most legs you've ever seen in your entire life. And it was trying to get me. And I was like trying to grab it so I could tear it in half, you know? And I just didn't get it. I didn't get the centipede. I couldn't get it. And I don't know what happened. I guess I just phased into the next part of my dream. Because that's how most of my dreams are. It's just like one scene. And then I go into a completely different one. Like a lot of people talk about like these cohesive dreams that they have. Mine are the complete opposite. It's the least cohesive thing on earth. I'm constantly like melting and like morphing between different parts of my dreams. And it's almost like the way people describe like psychedelic trips, like eating like 5 grams of mushrooms. I'm like, dude, that happens to me every night. Like every night I'm convinced like ego death, like the way a lot of people describe ego death is like they see themselves dying over and over and over. I've had like 10 dreams like that. I've like had some very memorable dreams that are exactly like that. I had this one, and I don't know what I was doing at the time that made me have this dream. What brought it about, but there was like this thing that we were trying to capture. It was like a radio tower or something that we were trying to capture, and I just kept respawning and just dying trying to take this radio tower. We never got it, dude. We never got 96.5 the buzz or whatever radio tower we were trying to capture, dude. We never got the Church of Laszlo or whatever it was that we were trying to get. So, I mean, yeah, my dreams are they're always like that, just melting from one thing to another. 1 second, I'm walking on the ground trying to kill a centipede. Oh, dude, I almost got the centipede, too. There's this one part where I, like, grabbed it by the top, or maybe the bottom, and I got the other part under my foot, and I, like, started to, like, rip it in half. I was like, fuck yeah, let's go, dude. I was like Hercules, you know what I mean? Like, just ripping this centipede in half. And I didn't get it, dude. It somehow escaped. It was like some fucking, some Shavkat Rachmaninoff stuff. When Ian Gary got Shavkat in that headlock and he somehow got away from it. I guess it's because his chin is huge. That guy has a gigantic head. Shavkat Rachmaninoff's head is the size of 3 of my heads, and I have a gigantic head. Somehow we got out of that. If someone has just a huge chin like that, like you're trying to like, get your forearm underneath his chin, but his chin is 4 feet long, so you can't get it underneath there. And he got out and he beat Ian Gary, which is the ultimate win. There's nothing I hate more than like a fighter like that. Like a lot of these UFC fighters, they get in trouble for like domestic violence or, shit like that. And it's like, yeah, that's just what UFC, these guys are the most insane people on earth. They're just going to do that. But when a guy's like he's almost like a liberal. He's like a liberal UFC fighter. And it's like, dude, if you're like a liberal basketball player or like even a football player, it's like, okay, maybe that's a little understandable. But it's like being like a lib UFC fighter is the most insane thing I've ever heard. It's the most savage sport on earth. And you're like, what about the feelings of other people? Did you ever consider that? It's like, did you ever consider the fact that you're supposed to be an animal based, like you're a pit bull, dude. You're one of Mike Vick's pit bulls, and you're like, the feelings. There's nothing I care more about than other people's feelings. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get being a lib UFC fighter. I don't really get being like a political UFC fighter. Like all the ones that are super political are like losers too. Like, and I'm not talking about like the Russian ones. Like those are Russian guys that are like trying to form like a Dagestani ethno state. That's not even political, dude. That's just guys having fun. So that doesn't fall under that umbrella. But yeah, I don't get being a lib UFC. I don't really get being a political anything, like a political accountant. It's like, dude, just shut up and fill out the fucking Excel spreadsheet, dude. No one cares. No one cares what you think. And even if they did, you still have no power over them. But what you do have power over is a clam. A clam is a very weak animal. It's, like I said, not even an animal. It's basically a plant. It's a very boring animal that just does nothing all day. But Indian tribes used to make a sort of money called wampum from their shells, especially the purple ones. And this is when I talked about the Indians of the Northeast. That's our ball episode. That's what these guys are doing. They were trading wampum, and they would make basically like these beads out of them, like these little round beads. And I guess that makes sense. It's like, because what else are you gonna make them out of? What else are you gonna make your money out of? There's not a lot of other like walnut shells or whatever. Those decompose too quickly. It's a pretty good call by them, and it's honestly pretty advanced because it's like these other societies that invented money, they went through like all these other steps before they got to money. They like discovered like metal smithing and like domesticated all these animals. These guys went immediately to money. They're kind of like the ultimate capitalists in that way. They're like hunting and gathering, and they're, getting in like feudal wars that last 20 years over like one guy stealing another guy's woman. They're kind of Greek in that way. But they didn't have like metal smithing or like horses or anything like that, dude. They were basically like the Greeks without those things. It was just guys having fun for so many years and just making money out of shells. I wonder how like they figured out the counterfeiting of that. They were like, this is not a quahog shell. Oh, this is not a quahog shell. This is just a common mussel shell. Can you believe this? This guy this redskin. They're just racist towards each other too. This large-nosed redskin tried to counterfeit a wampum shell. So they were making money out of that. That is the unlimited money glitch. If we still had that one going on, there would be no clams left in the ocean, dude. They probably didn't even eat the clams. They're probably like, dude, we killed deer all day. I'm not going to eat a clam. I'm going to make money out of it, dude. Clams are money. Money is clams. It's the same thing. Don't people call money clams or something like that. Or maybe that's from SpongeBob. Maybe I'm thinking of a SpongeBob reference where like clams was money some episode or some shit like that. But and quahogs have been domesticated kind of. They've been like there's like this one specific breed of quahog that they made or like that they bred to like I don't know be domesticated or something like that. But I guess the Indians didn't figure that one out, or maybe they did, because they had like the ancient Native Americans and a lot of these other tribal societies. I guess not tribal. I don't know how you would describe them. These non-agrarian societies, maybe is the best way to put it. Same with the Aboriginals, allegedly. I don't know if it's true. I do know it's true for the Native Americans, where they used to make these like food forests. They basically like manipulate the wild in a certain way, if that makes sense. Like the burning of the underbrush, like that type of shit, controlled burns. That didn't really exist in Europe or anywhere else. I think it did in Australia too, which does bow to the fact that they had food forests, but that's all it was. They were just trying to like burn everything else away to have like this one type of plant, but not like completely destroy it, because they could have done that. They could have completely destroyed it and just planted corn there, because they all had corn. That's the other thing about them, is they all had corn, but I guess they just didn't. They were like, nah, dude, we want pine nuts too, dude. We want clams and corn. We can't destroy everything in favor of corn. And by the way, when I was listening to the Iliad, they were talking about like feeding their horses corn, and I was like, there was no corn in Europe at the time. Apparently, in Europe, corn is just like the word for like any grain, and so in Europe they call corn maize, and that's like a thing. British people just find the stupidest shit to talk shit about to American people, and they're like, you call it corn, but corn is just a word for all grain. We call it maize, which is like an actual specific word for corn, and then. Like, when I was looking up corn and, like, being like, what are these guys talking about? I found out that maize is just the Spanish word for corn. So that you British fucking assholes, the worst, most annoying people on earth. There's a lot of people are talking about, like, the ethnic replacement of, like, British people, right? Like, by Albanians and Indians and Pakistanis and, like, Syrians and shit like that. And I don't know if it's true or not. I don't really care. Even if I didn't hate the British more than I hate any other group of people on earth, I wouldn't care. But they really made me care. By being like, oh, the shooting's happening in your schools, you people are so stupid. Just generally annoying. I'm like, yeah, you are getting ethnically replaced, and it's a good thing, I don't really get too deeply into those conspiracy theories, you know what I mean? Because then you get like measuring skulls and shit, even if it's true. Even if you are getting like completely culturally replaced, you start talking about skulls and shit, you almost have to talk about it from an economic point of view completely to be able to talk about it. But I don't know. I'm not a political expert. I'm just a regular old run-of-the-mill genius. But there are two species of quahog that live from Canada to Mexico. And I guess that's the only place they live. They're basically like an East Coast type of clam, and they live all the way up to like Newfoundland, I think, all the way down to the Yucatan of Mexico. So they got a pretty wide range, which begs the question, why did they only name the town of Quahog, Rhode Island after it, which is why I did a quahog rap at the beginning of this. But the town of Quahog is modeled after Cranston, Rhode Island, and it is canonically located in the real Newport County. So there is an actual Newport County in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island is basically just one giant metro area. It's basically just like the city of Providence and all its surrounding suburbs. There's only 5 counties in the state of Rhode Island, and so it's basically just one big shitty conglomeration of potholes and strip malls. It's all that great state of Rhode Island is, but that is where Brian and Stewie live, so you can't be too mad at it. That's where Cleveland isn't from there, actually. He's from Stool Bend, Virginia, which is why I had to throw that little bit in there about Stool Bend in the freestyle I did. But he's from Stool Bend, Virginia. He's not from Quahog. The stew is from Quahog, though. Same with Peter. Lois is from Quahog as well. I think most of the people there are from Quahog. I don't know about Quag. I don't know if Quag is from Quahog. He should be from Quahog, though. His name is very similar to Quahog, so I do imagine that the Quag is from Quahog. But yeah, around 30,000 people live in Quahog as of the latest census data. I don't know if there's something else going on. And I was looking up the economy of Quahog because I think it's just Pawtucket ale. I think that's the main economic driver within the town of Quahog. Maybe not a city, it's maybe more of a town. And like I said, Rhode Island is basically just one giant suburb. So it's basically just a suburb of like a suburb of like a suburb. But Pawtucket Ale is the main economic driver within the town, from what I could gather. I was looking it up. I was actually doing some real deep research into the, economic viability of the town of Quahog, Rhode Island, and I couldn't find anything. And then an important fact: Seth MacFarlane is not Jewish. It came as a surprise to all of us, I think. a guy, a guy from the Northeast who works in the entertainment business, you would have 100% when his last name is McFarlane, and I was still like, no, that guy's Jewish. He has a cartoon. He's been like famous since he was 20 years old, and he works in the media business, and he's from like the Northeast. Like, obviously, no, he's not. He's not Jewish. It was a shocker, truly a shocker. Even though his last name is McFarlane, and Seth is a Jewish name. Seth is the brother of Cain and Abel too, by the way. Don't know if you guys knew that. There was Cain and Abel, and I think they killed each other, something like that. God struck one of them with lightning, and the other guy threw a rock at the other one. And then Seth was there just watching the whole thing. Like, one day there's going to be a guy named after me that's going to start a TV show about a guy who has a family. So Seth was just chilling back watching that shit with his ma and pa, Adam and Eve. And then Ted rules, and yeah, I don't really like clams. That was the last note I got in there. Ted, I like the movies as well as the TV show. I like both of them. The TV show is pretty good. It's basically just a live-action Family Guy, and so I really like it. It's different from the movies, but it's still really good. Yeah, that's all I've got. Hope you have a good day, a good week, good year. Hope finals goes well for you. I got to study for a final tonight. It's going to be easy, though. I'm not too stressed about it, you know what I mean? It's just some casual type of stuff. All right, peace.